Hello world, Deke Sharon here on a gray and rainy San Francisco day. El Nino is giving us the water that we need. And while it does so, I thought I'd explain to you a little bit about an arrangement that I recently published that will be performing at Carnegie Hall on March 20th. The song is All of Me by John Legend, who himself I met on the stage at Carnegie Hall, in fact, when he was in the Penn Counterparts. He was music director. He called himself John Stevens back then. That was his birth name. I guess he wasn't a legend yet. And he was music directing the group, and they'd made it all the way to the finals. And I met this really intense young musician who really wanted to win that thing. He was a little too focused on winning. They didn't win, but they did sing some amazing vocal jazz, and so it's a pleasure to be able to sing one of his original compositions on that stage where I met him it's a solid 20 years ago. Anyway, All of Me is, in my opinion, one of the great ballads of the past 20 years, and I thought I would show you some of my thoughts as to how I wanted to configure it for just 4-part male vocals. So the song starts with just 4 parts, and it remains 4-part throughout. I love arranging in this format because there's a purity to it, there's a clarity, much like a Bach chorale. You have to do everything within those 4 parts. And moreover, with the solo in one line, you get a whole group of guys singing at once, which is super effective on a warm, rich ballad like this. In fact, one of the things that a cappella does best is make people fall in love with you. It's a fantastic mating ritual. So I decided to start with the melody in the tenor 1 part. It sounds a little bit like this. For those of you who have studied music theory, that writing might remind you a little bit of your 17th, 18th century 4-part writing, but in fact it's only 3 parts here because the melody's in one of the voices, and I do look at the chord factors that the melody is on, but for the most part I want to make sure that the triads are covered in those other 3 voices. I love bouncing the melody between different parts so that one section doesn't get to hog all the glory. So in fact, in this arrangement, I've got all 4 parts with the melody in different places. The You've Got My Head Spinning is handed off to the second tenors, and then the melody moves down to the baritone line for What's Going On in That Beautiful Mind. Then I hand it off to the basses. The basses never get to have the melody, do they? Well, I thought I'd give it to them in the My Head's Underwater section, which is one of my favorite parts of the song, this kind of pre-chorus. And it gets low, so I made an optional split up the octave if that E is too low, that E flat is too low. But most guys beyond middle school age, most bass sections will have a good percentage of their second basses who are able to sing that E flat. That section sounds a little bit like this. You'll notice for this arrangement that I start out with very simple background parts, whole notes, and slowly the texture gets more and more dense as the song moves along. I wanted this sense of a growing, a real simplicity and purity in the beginning, and then eventually more and more parts begin to arpeggiate and build and grow in the backgrounds until we get to the chorus, which looks a little like this. You'll notice that the baritones have an offbeat pattern, the nun, 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 that's going against the other background parts, and it'll create for the first time a real sense of pulse in the song. And in fact, you can sing the earlier sections somewhat rubato, but this part of the song you want to have a steady pulse. Even though there are only 4 parts in the arrangement, that still gives you a sense of an instrumental background, particularly with the bass hitting the downbeats, and then every 4th beat they're moving up to the 5 of the chord or whatever, which gives you this kind of perpetual churning even just between those 2 voices. Now the texture has grown, and we've hit a tempo, and there's this sense of offbeat rhythm churning forward. But then when we get to the signature line of the song, I decided I wanted to strip it back to a really choral purity. So that sounds a little like this. And then it goes into arpeggiation. When an audience hears this, they don't know why they feel what they're feeling, but ultimately music is emotion, and as arrangers, it's our job to create those moments for the audience. When all of the men on stage for the first time sing a lyric together, all of me, which is the centerpiece, the thesis of the song, they won't know why, but the little hairs on the back of their head will stand up because it's such a compelling message coming from everyone together for the first time on stage. And then those little interstitial patterns that happen in between the arpeggiations give you a little bit of a release from it, so that then when you come back to that choral message again, the all of me being sung by all of the guys together, once again, they can get that sense of that moment being fresh. So when you get to the big breakdown at the end of a song, the last chorus, almost every single time in the history of music, it's huge. It's big. You get people clapping and stomping their feet on 2 and 4, and yet for this, I wanted to do the exact opposite. I wanted there to be a breakdown, a sense of the bass leaving, but I strip everyone back to piano. It'll sound a little like this. The effect there should be one of surprise, one of a moment where everybody's expecting things to build and grow and grow and grow, and all of a sudden they pull back. And once again, you get the purity of homophony, the purity of guys singing together, the same lyric at the same time, but very quietly. And in fact, when I'm directing the singers in Carnegie Hall, I'll have them as much as possible pull back into falsetto so that there's a fragility to the sound as well. Because sometimes loud isn't the most powerful thing you can hear. Some of the most powerful things we hear during our lifetime are whispered in our ear, particularly messages of love. And in keeping with the same theme, instead of ending with a huge chord, a big moment, I decided to end with an incredibly quiet hum on the last chord. Sound something like this. So that's my plan anyway, is to give people chills and to make the ladies in the audience swoon at all the gentlemen up on stage. We'll see how it happens. This will be the first time I will have directed this song. I've arranged over 200 songs, and most of them exist simply up here in my mind until I actually work with a group who's singing them or see a video of it or something like that on YouTube. Such is the life of a modern arranger. Anyway, hope this is at least somewhat insightful. Hope you get an opportunity to sing this song at some point, and hopefully you get a chance to hear us perform it on the Carnegie Hall stage, March 20th. See you there.